Have you ever been in a room, like a party or maybe a big business meeting, and you notice something kind of strange? The person everyone is really listening to, the one whose opinion seems to matter most, isn't the one talking the loudest. Not even close. It's often the person who barely says anything at all. In a world that is just constantly screaming for our attention 24/7, we're going to explore a truth that feels completely backward. That real power, genuine influence, and even seduction, it's not found in noise. It's found in strategic, calculated silence. So let's really unpack that idea and figure out how you can actually use it.
I mean, this is the big paradox, isn't it? Everything in our culture tells us to speak up, to make our voice heard, to build your personal brand with just this constant stream of communication. And yet, we've all seen it backfire, right? We've all been around that person who talks endlessly, who has to explain every single thought and justify every little action. And what happens? You can literally watch people's eyes glaze over. They just fade into the background. They become predictable, common, really just more noise. But then there's that other person, the one who's totally comfortable in the quiet. Their words are rare, but when they do speak, they land with this incredible weight. They just draw us in. We find ourselves wanting to know, what are they thinking? In this explainer, we're not just going to understand that dynamic. We're going to learn how you can become the silence that cuts right through all that noise.
And here's what's so fascinating about this. This isn't about personality. This isn't about being an introvert or an extrovert. No, this is about strategy. It's a choice. So on one side, you've got the performer. Think about that word. The performer is always on a stage, and they're always looking for applause. Their endless talking is really just a plea for validation. They're constantly asking, do you like me? Do you agree with me? Am I smart? And this constant chase for attention, for approval, it makes them incredibly predictable. And in that predictability, they give away every ounce of their power. But then you have the other side, the ruler. The ruler doesn't need to perform. See, their power doesn't come from what other people think. They speak with precision. They speak only when it's necessary. And that restraint, it creates this aura of mystery that commands genuine respect. Their presence alone is enough to influence the room. The crucial thing to get here is that you get to choose which one of these you want to be.
All right, so let's start by really dissecting the problem here. We have to stop thinking about talking too much as just some bad habit, like biting your nails or something. The sources we're pulling from here frame it as a critical strategic liability. It's a real weakness that actively demolishes your authority, it kills any sense of attraction, and it leaves you wide open to your rivals. Think of it this way. Every single unnecessary word you speak is a crack in your armor. Let's dig into why that is.
Look, it doesn't get much more strategically minded than Niccolo Machiavelli, right? And when he uses the word ruler, he's not just talking about some king from the 1500s. He's talking about anyone in a position of power. That could be a CEO, a team lead, or really just anyone trying to navigate the complex social world we all live in. What he understood so brilliantly is that words are information. When you just talk and talk and talk, you are essentially giving away free intelligence to every single person around you. Your friends, your rivals, your competitors. You're broadcasting a map of your mind. You're telling them what you want, what you're afraid of, what motivates you, and exactly how you're planning to act. You are literally handing them the user manual on how to manipulate and defeat you. So let's break these perils down, because they're all connected. It's like a domino effect. When you talk too much, you inevitably start to complain or you express doubt. And boom, right there, you give away your weaknesses. And once people know it gets under your skin, they know exactly how to provoke you, how to control you. This leads right to the next point. You become predictable. If you're always venting about the same problems, people know exactly which buttons to push to get a reaction. And then comes the manipulation. People who are, let's say, less than sincere, they'll just learn to mirror your own words back at you. They'll feed your ego, tell you what you want to hear, all while subtly directing your actions. The more you talk, the more ammunition you give them. And through all of this, your mystique, that compelling, powerful aura of the unknown, it just completely evaporates. Which leads to the final, and maybe the most devastating point. You become ordinary. And in the game of power and influence, the ordinary are never desired, never respected, and never, ever feared.
I want you to just pause on this phrase for a second, because it is so incredibly potent. The graveyard of desire. Just think about that. What creates desire? Doesn't matter if it's in romance, in art, or in leadership. What is it? It's tension. It's surprise. It's the thrill of not knowing exactly what's going to happen next. Well, predictability is the polar opposite of all of that. It's just routine. It's monotony. It's knowing exactly what someone is going to say or do before they even open their mouth. That right there, that is where all fascination, all interest, all desire goes to die. If people can map out your entire personality and predict your every reaction after just one conversation, Why would they ever need to think about you again? There's no mystery left.
So, the bottom line is this. Seduction, and I mean that in the broadest sense of the word, seducing someone to your way of thinking, seducing a lover, seducing an audience, it all depends on mystery. To seduce someone is to draw them in, to make them want to know more. But if you just lay all your cards on the table right away, if you overexpose every thought, every feeling, every single intention, there's nothing left for them to pursue. You've given the whole game away for free. The second someone feels like they have you completely figured out, the psychological chase is over. You're no longer this fascinating puzzle they need to solve. You're just a book that's already been read.
Okay, so we've firmly established that talking too much is, well, a strategic disaster. But what's the alternative, right? Because for a lot of us, silence just feels weak. It feels passive, or maybe just plain awkward. But that's the great misunderstanding we have to overcome. The thinkers we're looking at here, they reframe silence completely. It's not an absence of sound, it's the presence of mind. It's a sign of profound confidence, of real depth, and of total control.
The philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer gives us such a powerful psychological insight here. He's basically saying that compulsive talking isn't a sign of a brilliant, overflowing mind. Actually, it's a symptom of a restless, anxious one. People who talk constantly are often running from something, and usually they're running from themselves. You see, silence is like a mirror. It forces you to actually confront your own thoughts, your own insecurities. And for a lot of people, that is absolutely terrifying. So what do? They fill the air with noise, just to drown out their own inner turmoil. The person who is comfortable in that silence, on the other hand, projects an image of someone who is at peace with their own mind. And that, my friends, is the very definition of inner strength.
Let's just be blunt about it. Let's call it what it is. Insecurity is loud. It's the person who just has to tell you how successful they are. It's the person who's constantly name-dropping or just dominating the entire conversation to prove how smart they are. It's a desperate performance. It's aimed at convincing everyone else, and maybe even themselves, of a value that they secretly fear they don't actually possess. This loudness, it's a defense mechanism. It's just a noisy shield trying to hide a very fragile core.
And the direct opposite of that is just as true. Real, genuine confidence needs no announcement. It doesn't need a billboard. It's calm. It's measured. It's self-contained. A truly confident person doesn't need to fill every single silent moment with the sound of their own voice. They know their worth, so they feel absolutely no compulsive need to prove it to you or to anyone else. Their restraint is a sign of dominance. Their quiet is a projection of pure assurance. Their presence, not their words, speaks for itself.
In all of this, it really boils down to a fundamental law of human dynamics. That loud insecurity we were just talking about, it broadcasts one single incredibly unattractive message: neediness. It's the need for validation, the need for attention, the desperate need to be seen as important. And neediness is the absolute polar opposite of attraction. Think about it. Attraction is a pull towards something, towards strength, towards independence, towards self-possession. Neediness is a desperate push that just shoves people away. It signals a void, a deficiency that you expect someone else to fill for you. And that, my friends, is a burden, not an allure.
This brings us, of course, to Robert Greene's famous fourth law of power. Always say less than necessary. Now, this isn't just some clever piece of advice. It's a tactical instruction. Why is it so incredibly powerful? Because when you say less, you force other people to do all the work. They have to interpret your silence. Their minds start racing. They wonder, what are they really thinking? Are they impressed with my idea? Are they angry? Do they know something I don't? And in that space of uncertainty, their imagination just runs wild. And they often end up projecting a power and an intelligence onto you that is far greater than anything you could have possibly claimed with your words. You appear more profound, more mysterious, simply by holding back.
So we've explored the philosophy, right? We've understood the psychology. Now let's get practical. How do we actually use this stuff? This isn't about becoming a mute who never speaks. It's about learning to wield silence as a tool, as a weapon that gives you control and influence in pretty much any situation. This next section, this is our guide. This is how we turn silence into your greatest strategic asset.
Okay, first things first. We have to burn this idea into our minds. Silence is not weakness. It is not about letting people walk all over you. In fact, it is the ultimate form of control. Think about it. When you speak immediately, you're reacting. But when you choose silence, you are taking control of your own reactions. You are choosing to observe, to think, and to act deliberately, instead of just being pulled along by the emotional currents of the conversation. You control the pace, you control the flow of information, and ultimately, you control the outcome. All right, here we go. Here is a simple 4-step method you can start using today. Step 1. Let others fill the space. Most people are deeply, deeply uncomfortable with silence in a conversation. After just a few seconds, you'll see them get anxious, and they'll rush to fill that void. And in their haste, they will almost always say more than they intended to. Step 2. As they're filling that space, you are not just sitting there waiting. No, you are actively observing their revelations. You're like a detective, gathering invaluable information about what they really want and what they're insecure about. Step 3. Practice delaying your response. When someone asks you a question, especially a tough one, don't just blurt out the first thing that comes to mind. Pause. Take a breath. This simple delay does 2 things. It makes you seem more thoughtful, and it makes your eventual words carry so much more weight. And finally, step 4, when you do speak, do so with precision. Because you've been listening instead of just talking, your words can be targeted, impactful, and brief. You say exactly what is needed to be said and not a single word more.
Let's look at how this strategy completely dominates in a few high-stakes scenarios. First, think about an argument. As your opponent gets more and more emotional, just ranting and raving, your calm silence makes them look unhinged. They completely exhaust themselves, fighting a battle you haven't even really joined. Now think about seduction. A shared silence, a delayed answer to a flirty question, it creates this powerful electric tension. It's that moment of anticipation that amplifies desire and literally makes the other person lean in, craving a resolution from you. And in a negotiation, oh, this is a classic tactic. The first person to speak, to give a number, often loses. By remaining silent after they make an offer, you force the other side to reveal their desperation, their real numbers, their weaknesses. They start negotiating against themselves, just to end the uncomfortable quiet. It's an incredibly powerful tool.
So, as we start to wrap this explainer up, let's bring it all back to the core theme, the ultimate warning that underpins everything we've talked about today. Power dies in predictability. Mystery sustains it. It's that simple. The more you talk, the more predictable you become. The more predictable you are, the less power you hold. Your power, your influence, your seductive allure, all of it is sustained by keeping a part of yourself back, by remaining slightly elusive, by being a puzzle that other people are desperate to solve. Strategic silence, that is the key to maintaining that mystery.
Ultimately, this whole thing comes down to a choice. The world offers a default path. It's easy. Just be part of the constant meaningless chatter, to shout for attention, to over-explain everything, to expose every part of yourself in this desperate bid for validation. But as we've seen, that is the path to becoming ordinary. It's the path to becoming powerless. The other path? Well, it's more difficult. It requires restraint. It requires real confidence, and it requires strategy. It is the path of calculated silence. So the question I'm leaving you with is this. The world is already full of noise. Are you going to add to it, or will you be the silence that cuts through it all, commands attention, and changes every room you walk into? The choice is yours.